2010 John Deere 9570 Combine. The 9570 on this farm was bought brand new. The owners traded in an anniversary edition 9500 to get it. Has a 6-row head for corn and a 25-foot head for soybeans. The engine has 265 horsepower normally and 298 horsepower power boost out of a 6.8 liter engine. The engine was used in the 7000 series tractors for a long time and appears to be for the most part pretty reliable in those applications. We'll get into that more later. The cab on this particular model is pretty much a basic cab. It has the cloth seat. The big difference noticed from the older Combine is a lot smaller steering wheel. I guess that's to give more room for the hydrostat control since they've put more control buttons on it. And the air conditioner system is a climate control unit, which I noticed, depending on which direction I was going and how the sun hit, was either 20 degrees cooler than I wanted it or about 10 degrees warmer. There wasn't much in between. You just constantly played with the dial, and finally I just turned it off and just dealt with whatever climate the cab had to begin with. There are a few issues I will address on this machine. First of all, when I ran it in corn testing it out, when you get above 3.3, 3.4 mile an hour in good corn and wet corn, it seemed like it wanted to spit it out the back. And I opened up the sieves, did all the adjustments they talked about, and it just seems like that's how it is. Which is unusual because the bullet rotor was supposed to have more capacity and allow more grain and material to flow through the rotor easier. But maybe because it's the small rotor, not the bigger one, that it's a problem. Also, there were several parts that the owner talked about they got over the years. There was a bearing that went out, and they greased it accordingly to the book, and the mechanics told them, no, you need to grease that more often than what the book says. So they greased things a little bit more often, and then parts started failing, and it was because of over-greasing. So now what they do is every oil change, every bearing, even if it's 400 hours, gets a shot of grease. And so far, the bearing failures have really been minor. Now, if I recall correctly, they said they haven't really had any since then. There was one bearing on the variable speed drive went out, but it's not a greased bearing. Now, this Combine is kind of rare in my area. A lot of guys have bigger Combines. A friend of mine talked about working on one and had 2 engines put in it. Just decided that that Combine was too much for that motor. And that brings us up to an interesting thought in John Deere's thinking. They had the 9560, which had an 8.1 liter 6-cylinder, made a lot of torque. Maybe it wasn't the best at constant high RPMs, I don't know. They improved the rotor to handle more material, and then they put a smaller displacement engine in it. Now, yes, small displacement engines can make power, but you're asking more of the motor. Then when they replaced the 9570 with the 550, I believe that one came out with the 8.1 liter engine and the bullet rotor. So my question is, why couldn't you keep doing that in the first place? Again, it's John Deere. I don't know what they were thinking. And it's all a moot point anymore because they don't even make this size of Combine. They decided that the Combine market was bigger and better, and the 9570 had to go. Which is funny when I look back at what people have replaced Combines with. People had a 6600, replaced it with a 7720, replaced it with a 7720 Titan II, replaced it with a 9500, and now this. So my question is, how big are these Combines going to get, and what is the small guy going to do? Are they going to be stuck buying a used Combine 20 years down the road? And are the parts still going to be available for the small machine, or is that going to be forgotten about? That's my rant on this Combine. It just seems like that John Deere was taking a little side note from how Alice Chalmers used to do things. We can sell 5 of these. Great, build it. And if we build it for 2 years, we're in good shape. But my rant over, the Combine's very nice. The 2-speed 4-wheel drive works out great. It does seem to make it run a little bit more steady across the field to leave the 4-wheel drive in. And when I ran corn in some hilly ground, the low range was a good addition for that. It made it really nice and stable. It didn't want to run off on me. And the seat, being the higher back seat compared to the older Combines I was used to, that was a pretty good thing. When you have a long day, you can kind of kick back and relax on it. This combine has no auto steer system. The owner has not bought any and says, at least on this machine, he doesn't intend to. He's looking to trade in a couple years, probably for, I guess it would be a 760 now. So all in all, if you're looking for a combine, I would recommend this one, but I would caution you too. Just be sure and be careful on your greasing. Maybe change your oil a little more often. The owner changes his oil at 100 hours. And I believe you'll have good engine life out of it. They also told me that John Deere replaced the push rods in it. They had a recall on sprayers and the combines, and I guess that was due to the high RPMs compared to the tractors, and the push rods weren't hard enough. That's the only engine work that's been done, and really it wasn't acting up. It was just John Deere showed up and said, we need to do this. So the owner had said this has been his favorite combine so far, except for some of the oddball mechanical issues it's had. And for me, it was a pretty nice one to drive. I look forward to maybe running a bigger one sometime.